Uh, Emile Solanki is the founder of the Tilawa1942.com, The Forgotten Tragedy, and over the years he has spoken to the Governor Don Kotek as well on the shows, and in relation to the research of SS Tilawa, a passenger ship which was destroyed back in November, 23rd November, back in 1942. Good afternoon, Emile. How are you?
Hi, Dad. How are you doing?
You let the cat out of the bag. Listen, Emile, great to have you. This is the first time you're live on air with me on the radio. It's great to have your company. Now, listen, what's the weather like?
Oh, it's beautiful here this afternoon. Finally, we've come out of snowy winter, which dragged on a little bit, and I actually am now working on my beautiful brand new lawn.
Wait, amazing. Well, we've got a bit of rain today, unfortunately. Now, look, it's great to have you on the show, on the long drive this afternoon, or rather this evening. And, we've had chats. You've had chats with the governor here as well, Don Kotek, in relation to Tilawa. Tell us a little bit about the recent progress on SS Tilawa.
Well, yeah, I mean, as some of your listeners may know, this is something that you and I have been working on for 17 years now, and it's actually good that you and I finally get to do a radio conversation together there for the Leicester audience. The last couple of months has been super exciting because since we had the conversation with Mr. Kotak, we had the second commemoration of the ill-fated SS Tilawa back in November of last year at the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich. It's the first in Britain. It was an incredible opportunity to get families from all over the country together. Many Gujarati families came from Leicester, for instance. We had the support of, the Right Honourable Mr. Keith Vaz, artists like Navin Kundra. We had the Mayor of Greenwich there as well. And then think about the fact that we had two known survivors, one who came from the United States and the other from South London, which was great. We also had a 96-year-old gentleman who became an orphan in Bombay when he lost his parents and young children. So you can imagine the atmosphere. It was quite emotional, but an informative program as well. It lasted just over 2 hours. Many of us got to participate, including the SS Tilawa Foundation, folks from South Africa that really led a lot of the research, over 25 years ago. And there were about 140 people there in attendance.
Yeah, I'm just so the listeners who may have never heard of this, SS Tilawa was the passenger ship which left Mumbai. I think it was a Friday evening from Mumbai going to South Africa, and after a couple of days on the 23rd, it was torpedoed twice by the Japanese submarine and killing 280 people or 280 passengers.
That's right. So 958. Or so total, people on the ship. And then after surviving for 2 days in the middle of the Indian Ocean, about 930 miles northeast of the Seychelles, 678 people were rescued by HMS Birmingham and SS Carthage. And actually, right after the commemoration in November, we had heard from Mr. Gaffer Ayub, an older gentleman actually in Leicester. He's got a large family in Leicester. They are also Gujarati. Unfortunately, they didn't know about the commemoration. He's in his 90s now, and he was a survivor of the tragedy. So we look forward to getting to know him better. And then, again, shortly after the commemoration, we found out that Miss Namisha Madhwani, from the well-known Madhwani family in East Africa, she is now the ambassador at the Ugandan embassy in London to the UK from Uganda, and her mother, her three aunts, and her grandmother were also survivors of the SS Tilawa. So it's just encouraging to see how many people continue to come forward because of the work that we are doing and the website tilawa1942.com getting more traction.
Yeah, to think that these people or families that went through it, and then to find actually a survivor who, after me chatting to him recently, Mr. Osman Gaffer, who lives in the Highfields, been here since the 70s and nobody knew about it. So that's a pity, but it's amazing that we were able to converse with him. Now, what's the recent developments as far as I understand there were silver bars there and so forth?
Yes, that's a great question. Back in 2012, there was a company that decided to find the SS Tilawa. It took them a few years to locate the ship. Then in 2017, over a period of 6 months, they actually found the wreck site. They were able to salvage 60 tons of silver bullion. So that's 2,364 bars of silver. They declared it in Southampton at the receiver of wreck, and that triggered an international unprecedented maritime lawsuit between the government of South Africa and this company Argentum. Essentially, the Republic of South Africa are the rightful owners of those silver bars, but Argentum were claiming a service fee. They wanted to be compensated for doing the work that South Africa was never prepared to do. So, long story short, Argentum won at the High Court. They won again at the Court of Appeals, but just recently, the judgment at the UK Supreme Court, they switched the decision. South Africa were able to win their claim of sovereign state immunity, which basically means that their argument of the actual silver being intended for sovereign use and not commercial use meant that they didn't have to pay Argentum for actually getting the silver. But both parties came to a confidential settlement not long before the judgment was handed down. The reason why we are interested is because the research, the potential for photographs and videos that are owned by Argentum will now allow us to, go one step further in seeking some closure. It would be wonderful to be able to see the site of where our loved ones were last, and it's just also another way of potentially investigating what happened during the torpedo attack. So, that's very exciting news for us.
So just in conclusion then, I suppose this year will be the 81st, or rather the 82nd commemoration. Where's that going to be held?
Right. So obviously we wanted a bit of a triad program between leaving the port of the Ballard Pier in Mumbai. So we had that first commemoration in the world on the 80th, 2 years ago. We then, because of the amount of affected families from the tragedy, live in the UK, it made sense to do something there, especially with, acknowledgement from His Majesty King Charles III. There was a lovely letter that his office wrote. Same with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's office. And then, of course, having the support of the British Deputy High Commissioner, who actually ensured in November that a wreath was laid on behalf of those that lost their lives, 280 souls. And so that was kind of the background for Britain. And now to answer your question, the third commemoration on the 82nd anniversary will be in Durban, South Africa, near to the port where the ship Tilawa was actually meant to reach for its final destination. So there's quite a large community in Zambia, Zimbabwe, Kenya, South Africa that have a close connection to the tragedy, and this is going to be a wonderful opportunity for them to to actually acknowledge officially and commemorate the loss of life on African soil.
Well, Emile, thanks very much for joining me on the show this evening here on Sabras Radio. Now, of course, listeners who are interested in this historical, factual event which happened, sadly, but the 17 years of research, how can they get more information? And in fact, maybe they've got families who were on this ship.
Yes, often we get emails at info@tilawa1942.com, our website www.tilawa1942.com, social media platforms Tilawa1942. Tilawa is spelled Tilawa, and if you know of someone who may be connected to the tragedy, don't be shy. Please share the stories. It's very important that we continue to build that network and actually have that family added to our Tilawa 1942 Global Family WhatsApp group, which has also been encouraging to participate in.
Well, Emile, thanks very much for joining me, and no doubt we'll talk again, and like we do, but as far as the Tilawa 1942, I'm sure, it's going to be a great success and a closure as far as South Africa's concerned.
That's right. Well, thanks, Dad, and greetings to all of your listeners there in the East Midlands.
There you go. That's Emile, the founder of Tilawa1942.com. More information on the website, of course. And, of course, it's lovely that Sabras Radio can support our research in this tragedy, which happened back in 1942, 23rd of November.
Sabras Radio.